Facebook. We're live on YouTube. All right, man. Here we go. The most important skill you will ever learn, I'm going to talk about tonight. It's the number one conversation I have with parents daily. You know, I do, let me turn this down just a little bit. I do college discovery calls with parents on a daily basis. As before, actually, they're coming into our onboarding program. We just opened that up. So I spend a lot of time on the phone talking with parents and coaches. And this number one conversation that we have, you know, is you're going to have a chance to learn a skill that is going to help change your game. Okay, and I'm going to give you some insights what Olympians do. In this broadcast, I'm going to share with you how Olympians change their habits and their attitudes to break the barriers in Olympic sport, and how you can learn to break your barriers in your sport and accomplish your goals. How cool is that? A lot of people don't think about this, but at the Olympic level, Olympians are training to break barriers. They're breaking world records. They're breaking time trials. They're breaking, they're winning gold medals. It's not common to win a gold medal. And I heard this put in pretty good words, and I'm trying to remember where I heard it. Olympic athletes are uncommon amongst the uncommon, right? And to be able to get some insight on how these athletes train and all the stuff that I've worked with at the Olympic training through the coaches has been incredible. So let's dive into this, okay? If you've never met me before, I'm Sean Humphreys. I'm a high-performance coach. I specialize in changing the performance in individuals. Whether you're a highly skilled athlete or you're on your way to being one, or you just want to improve your performance, you're in the right place. Yeah. Make sure you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. And maybe click the wow face. Also tag somebody. Get them online, because if you want, somebody that you care about, whether it's an athlete or if it's a parent or a coach, and you want them to hear about this, share it with them, okay? It's really critical, because they need to hear this, right? Okay. Let me know where you're watching from as well. I love to know. I mean, we've got people from Ireland that tuned in, from Asia, all the way from Australia. I love finding out where you're checking the broadcast out from, and even in the United States, right? It's even cool, okay? Also know that the broadcast will be rebroadcast on YouTube. So if you have questions, hit me with them. I love to field your questions, because, man, that really spurs the thinking as well. So let's get started. Let me ask you a question. Do these attitudes sound familiar to you? I perform great in practice, but when I get in competition, my scores go up. If I do well in the beginning of a round, I have a tendency to lose it at the end. I finish with a good score one day, and the next it's always higher by 5 to 7 strokes. And if I finish with a high score, it's always 5 to 7 strokes lower the second day. So I have these rounds that are low one day, high the next, high one day, low the next. I string together 6 or 7 holes with good scores, and then the wheels fall off. I have a great front 9 and a horrible back 9. Or I have a horrible front 9 and a great back 9. It's never consistent, okay? I'm technically sound in my sport, but I choke under pressure. And I spend a lot of time in training, and in competition, it just doesn't work. I get so nervous in competition. Folks, these are statements in conversations that I have heard and I have on a daily basis with parents, students, and coaches from all around the world. They all say, have you been watching my son or daughter play? Because I'm asking these questions to them, and more importantly, they hit me with them every day. because it's exactly the way that they perform. And here's the thing. You're not the only one in the boat, okay? And here's another thing too, is that I was the same way when I was competing. I had these highs and lows in my game, and it drove me out of competing. It really did. And I've said this before, but if I weren't a mediocre player, okay, I wouldn't be the teacher that I am today. All right? So I'm having these conversations, right, with these parents, okay? And these conversations lead into what I'm getting ready to talk about, how you can start changing these things, okay? All right. Here's an interesting piece, okay? All of the things that we just talked about, it's temporary, okay? But is what is called a self-image correction, okay? It's a temporary self-image attitude, all right? So what happens is that when you have a great round and it's not like you to have two great rounds in a row, you have a self-image correction. It corrects you back to where your area of comfort. We're going to talk about that in a second. But they can change. In fact, the same person and the same people that I just talked to you about that gave me all these comments soon began to talk and sound like this. I perform better in competition than I do in training now. If I start well, I finish well. It's like me to have 2 solid rounds of golf back to back now. I often have winning performances. I can count on a good performance under pressure. What accounted for the change? Why did these same athletes that had these same comments in the beginning, why are these imprints different now? They all experienced a change in their self-image, okay? When you shift the self-image, the change is often permanent. When you grow the self-image, it's often permanent. Now, how does that look, right? How do we do that? We tend to perform within a certain comfort or a comfort zone or a range. It's our area of comfort that we like to operate in, right? So for example, Stacy shoots in competition between 78 and 82. It's like her to make pars when she plays, and she's even shot even par before on 9 holes. But it's not like her to post a good back 9 or a good front 9 followed up with a good back 9. Okay, it's not like her to do that. And vice versa. And she gets nervous when she makes 5 pars in a row. Her self-image starts getting a little nervous. It's not like her to make 6 pars in a row, so her self-image executes a correction to keep her in her comfort zone. Okay? And then what happens when she makes 5 pars in a row? Then here comes the bogeys, right? She's comfortable between 78 and 82. That's where she's comfortable. So for example, if you're a 75 shooter and you happen to be 3 under par coming down the stretch and you're lighting it up that day, but your self-image says, hey, Sean, it's not like you to be 3 under par, and we're going to figure out how to shoot 75. We're going to go double, bogey, and finish it out. And whatever that equates to is going to be 75. The self-image is not going to allow you to do it because it's not like you to do it. It's correcting you in that moment because it's not like you to do it. Okay? Your self-image makes you act like you. It keeps you within your comfort zone is what it does. If you're below your comfort zone, get this, if you're below your zone, your self-image makes you uncomfortable and turns up your power until you are within that zone. It either turns it up or slows it down. Either cuts the power off or puts it on. I always equate it to like a throttle on a motorcycle, right? If it's like you to do it, it puts on the gas and it shoots you through it. If it's not like you to do it, it shuts it off, okay? As long as you act like you, the self-image is content and it does not interfere with your skill set. It doesn't interfere with your skill set if it's content. To change your performance, you must change your self-image, okay? Skill set is important, but most sports, especially in golf, is tilted purely on skill set. And you have to grow your self-image at the same rate that you grow your skill set, because you're growing your skill set so that you can have an opportunity to turn it into a talent, to do something that you've never done before, but you have to grow your self-image at the same rate so it's like you to do something that you've never done before. Controlling change in the self-image may be the most important skill you will ever learn. Okay? You can change any attitude you don't like. When the self-image changes, performance changes. Here's the crazy piece, okay? You're not going to like this. The self-image controls your skill set. It's crazy. And regardless of how skilled you are, day in and day out, you cannot outperform your self-image, okay? Olympic athletes train for 4 years for one event. They follow a rigorous 4-year curriculum model, okay? And in this time frame of their training, they must grow their self-image as they grow as a competitor, okay? So it becomes like them to set world records, right? It's like me to have incredible time trials. It's like me to win the gold medal. So you have to constantly grow the self-image to do something that you've never done before. However, growing these habits and attitudes are not different than learning to win at your local club event or even a state event or a regional event. There's no different. It's all about growing your self-image. And I'm going to share with you some techniques that these athletes do that can help change your performance. Here's the good thing. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is that your performance and your self-image are almost always equal, just like I mentioned. Okay? If you don't like your score, there's a good chance that you need to change your self-image. Here's the thing though, the self-image resists change. But of course it does. Okay? Why? We are talking about habits and attitudes that have been ingrained for a particular period of time. And sometimes you ingrain these habits and you don't even know that you're doing them. You ingrain good habits and attitudes, and you ingrain bad habits and attitudes. And we know where these attitudes can get us. The self-image resists change. The good news, the self-image can change, but I admit it's not easy. The challenge for most of us is that we know something has to change for our score to improve, okay? We just don't want it to be us, right? We'd prefer that our problem would be resolved by buying a nice piece of equipment, right? A new putter, a new driver. We prefer that if we read another book or take another lesson from our swing coach, we would change. We'd prefer that someone else be the problem instead of me or us, okay? Anything but me, right? I don't want it to be me. But no one can change your self-image but you. Nobody else can do it but you. you have to do it yourself. And the first step is to admit that I'm the problem, okay? That I need to change. And it's not so much that it's a problem, it's that recognize that, okay, in order for me to get better, I've got to change my habits and my attitudes, okay? So once you've decided to change, how do we do it? Okay, I'm going to give you some insights here, okay? You can try the most common method used by frustrated players that is certain to make you get even more frustrated, and I see it happen with the 95% of the athletes, and that's train more and take more lessons. Because you'll overtrain and continue to overtrain, and then when you get in competition, you're not prepared and you'll continually overtry, okay? However, this training, I mean, it's a good way to grow your subconscious skill, okay, your subconscious mind, but it will do very little to change your self-image. And that's a challenging piece, you know. Also, playing more doesn't always improve your self-image, but imprinting a good performance does. And we're going to talk about imprinting here in a few minutes. So remember, the self-image you currently have, it got this way somehow, right? Doesn't it make sense? You would have to change it the same way that you got to where it is today. It does. So how does the self-image change? It happens through imprinting, all right? And let's talk about what the imprinting looks like, all right? So what we have actual, the first imprint that we're going to talk about is called actual imprint. An actual imprint, this is where you actually perform the task or you actually hit a shot, okay? The act of you hitting a great shot grows your self-image, right? The act of you hitting a bad shot shrinks the self-image because you have the imprint of you hitting a bad shot. Now, the back end piece of that is how do you respond? And that's how do you reinforce? How do you reinforce after that shot? What should you reinforce? What should you imprint? If you hit a shot that needs work and you know what the solution is, you need to immediately put that solution in place. Could be strategy. Could be I didn't commit to the strategy. Could have been it was a technical piece. Maybe I didn't brush the turf enough, or whatever it is. You're the one that has to be able to determine what that solution is, okay? And you put that solution in place immediately after that imprint. That gives you the ability to protect and grow the self-image after performing a task, okay? So an actual imprint either grows or it shrinks your self-image. If you hit a bad shot, it's going to shrink it. If you hit a good shot, got a chance to grow it. So, however, the next imprint that we're going to talk about is it's what we imagine, okay? All right? You have imagined imprints. If you imagine yourself hitting great shots and reinforce them daily of executing and even executing winning performances, that's going to grow your self-image. Believe it or not, people actually imagine imprints of not performing well or having bad performances or hitting bad shots. And those are detrimental. And what you imprint, it's 100% chance that that imprint is going to be indelible, right? It's one of the most indelible imprints, you know, that when you start imagining things, right? They start becoming. So the key is that if you imagine yourself performing well and executing great shots, there's 100% chance that those shots are going to be perfect. How about that? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? So when we look at imagining imprints, right, all it takes is a little knowledge of how to do it correctly and some effort, okay? The next imprint, what I call, is environmental imprints. And this has really grown into a bigger imprint because of the social media that we have now, okay? You know, prior to 1996, we didn't have social media. So it wasn't a part of our culture. So environmental imprints, there's several environmental pieces here. One is it's people you train with, okay? Your teammates, your coaches, parents watching competition, people at the event watching, the weather, the rain, the snow, sleet, cold weather, hot weather, wind. You're not going to like this, but I get this a lot, and I've seen it a lot. When I ran my academy, I had a lot of girls in it. What the other person is wearing. I mean, seriously, but I get it. I hear the girls all the time, oh my God, did you see her shoes? They are so loud. They're driving me nuts. What the heck are you doing letting your shoes dictate how you think? Oh my God, did you see her earrings today? They about drove me nuts. You're letting the environment dictate how you think. Here's a good one. You ever gone to an event and the greens have just been aerified, right? They got a lot of sand on them and they're really bumpy. And everybody's on the putting green hitting putts and they're laughing and carrying on about how bad the greens are. Oh, these greens suck. They're bumpy. Oh my God, I'm going to shoot 1,000,000 today. You hear that, right? Somebody's going to win that event. And that person that wins that event is going to love those greens. What should you imprint? You should imprint, oh man, I love these greens when they're this bumpy. I love it when they put sand on them. Matter of fact, I wish they'd put more sand on it. I love it when it's like this. Or it's raining. Oh man, I love it when it rains. I play so well in the rain. Oh, it's so cold today. I love cold weather. Man, I love bundling up to play. You've got to get the imprints to where it's like you to do this because somebody's going to be doing it, okay? Also, parents at events. Parents, stay out of the way. Stay out of the way of your kids. Just watch from afar. I get so tired of seeing these kids out there. Every time they hit a shot, they're turning to look at what the parent's reaction is, okay? And athletes, stop looking at your parents. They didn't hit the dadgum golf shot, and they can't do a dadgum thing about it either, okay? So drop it. Get rid of it. When a great shot is hit, clap and applaud. And if a shot is not hit that's desirable, just stand there like a statue and don't say anything, okay? That's the best thing that you can do, okay? All right? I see it all the time and it drives me nuts, all right? So parents, stop it. Coaches, you do the same thing too. You need to cool it down well, pipe it down, okay? What should you imprint? You should imprint what you want to have happen, okay? If it's snowing that day and you're playing in it, I love the snow, okay? If it's hot, man, I love the hot weather. I got my big hat, I got the umbrella. I love it. From the Olympic space, the method of imprinting is used and it affects the self-image a particular way. So the way that you imprint and the method that you use to imprint is really critical. Now, a lot of times, people will talk about visualization. I don't, because I don't believe in it. Visualization is not effective in changing your self-image. Not as much as a physical rehearsal. So what's the difference, you might ask, okay? Most people understand visualization to mean seeing as clearly as you can when you are actually seeing when you perform an action, okay? It's seeing you execute the shot, seeing you hit the shot, seeing your body execute the shot. Many players are concerned that they cannot seem to get a clear or sharp picture and do not really see clearly when they try to visualize. I had that happen all the time, okay? I don't think clarity matters, all right? I really don't. In fact, it's not what you see that is important, but it's what you feel, okay? What you want to do is, this is the most indelible imprint. You want to rehearse the feeling of you hitting a good shot, or hitting the shot that you picture there. That's the shot I'm going to hit. Now I'm going to physically rehearse it. You don't try to see it. You want to try and feel the shot, because that's actually what you're doing. You want to feel the proper move and imprint that move to execute the shot. It's part of the commitment phase. And you get really good at that. When you imprint in this way, you avoid having to clearly visualize anything. You don't have to worry about visualizing anything. All you're doing is imprinting the feel, whatever it is, serving a tennis ball, throwing a football, throwing a pass, throwing a baseball, whatever it is. You want to imprint and reinforce the non-visual aspects of the shot as well. Okay? Many good athletes talk about being a feel player. You hear this all the time, and I'm probably talking to some right now. When you do that, you're rehearsing no visualization. You're rehearsing all the feel. Okay? Another factor when you rehearse, okay, the best time to imprint is just before and after the action of hitting a ball or a task. So just before the task, you want to have an imprint, maybe a couple imprints. And you want to get that movement just right. And you're like, yeah, that's what I want, okay? And you want to do that on the swing, putt, chip, pitch shot, every shot that you're going to hit. You want to physically imprint the shot that you're getting ready to hit, okay? Now think about this for a second. If you have 2 imprints, let's just say on an average before every shot you hit, okay? And then you have 1 imprint, you have 2 for the shot that you're getting ready to hit. Then you have the imprint of actually executing the shot. That's 3 imprints. And let's say that you might average, 2 imprints after the shot on reinforcement. Maybe it's solutions, or maybe even you did it great. And you just want to make that. You want to imprint that movement again. That's one of the biggest things that athletes don't do. When they perform something great, there's no imprint. Now, the ultra elite athletes do, and I see this every day. So think about this. You got 2 on the front end before the shot. You got 1 imprint of executing the shot. You got 2 on the back end. That's 5 imprints for every shot that you hit. Okay. Now you want to know the numbers that I look at. Okay. I don't look at stats and averages. I don't need to look at that stuff. Performance analysis takes care of that. So let's say you go out and you shoot. We'll just round some numbers. Okay. Let's say you shoot 74. Okay. And you had 4 shots that you didn't have to build a strategy and commit to the strategy, run the program, and execute the shot. Okay? It was like, let's say you had 4 tap-ins. Okay? So you remove that. Now we're down to 70. Okay? But on all 70 of those other shots, it required a strategy. You had to imprint before that. Okay, then you imprinted the shot, which is 3, and then after that, you averaged 2 imprints after that. That's 5 imprints. So 70 times 5 is 350 imprints that you have in a round of golf. Let me tell you something, folks. You get good at imprinting, that's how you start growing self-image. Can you imagine that if you did this on every shot for the entire season, including training? One thing to remember, the top athletes in the world, their training is no different than how they compete. And how they compete is no different than how they train. What they do in competition is what they do in training. Unfortunately, in our sport, it's a little archaic, it's a little antiquated. It's one of the reasons I stepped to the edge and got out of my sport years ago, and I started learning from the NFL and learning at the Olympic level from these great coaches like Lanny Basham and Bill Parcells and Sean Payton and Mike Zimmer and the late Tony Sperano. I mean, these guys know how to train. They know how to imprint. So this is vital for your training and growing your self-image in competition. Another thing to consider is that we imprint continually, okay? All the time we're imprinting. The self-image cannot tell the difference between the past, the present, or the future events as far as imprinting is concerned. Each time you recall an experience, the self-image imprints it again as a new event. Every single time. If you think about a problem you had in the past, the self-image imprints it again as if it just happened. That's crazy. And you need to think about that. Because if you think about a problem that you had in the past, okay, the self-image imprints it again as if it just happened. Okay? If you imagine a future event, your self-image imprints that as it's occurring now. You are in control of the imprinting process. You're in control of the imprinting process. Think about this. Olympians win the gold medals thousands of times before they win the gold medal, and they imprint it years leading up to winning the gold medal. Years they do that. Imprint anything you want to happen, and you have improved your chances of actually having it happen because it becomes like you to do it. Okay? But be careful not to think about anything that you don't wish to have happen. Okay? All right? You do that, and you just imprinted as it being like you to do it. Most people worry that they will perform poorly in some part of their game. I hear it all the time. This normally intensifies just prior to a big competition, right? And I'm speaking to you, okay? What a mistake, right? Keep in mind, only what you want to have happen. That's what you want to keep in mind. Only what you want to have happen. And if you can learn to rehearse the entire round, we'll talk about that in a later segment, because there's a lot more of these imprints that we go into, but these are the first few things of imprinting that you need to focus on. If you catch yourself worrying about your performance, just rehearse performing well. Rehearse you executing the shots well, and the worries will gradually intend to disappear. And if you do this, you're going to imprint nothing but great shots, great action, and you will start to grow your self-image. And when you start growing your self-image, let me tell you, it is amazing. And you've heard me talk about these stories. You see them on our Facebook posts of all these athletes and these teams that are setting records and school records. And it's done from one, they learn how to imprint. They learn how to grow their self-image. They're learning the mindset program, but also they're learning how to train. But if you just start with this imprinting piece, it's a game changer. Look, I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast as much as I have, because, man, I love this stuff because, man, this self-image piece, man, it's the inner code of who we are, all right? I do these shows every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, and, man, we've got some great topics coming down the pipeline. Hey, if you're interested in being a part of our private client group and want to have a college golf discovery call and talk about these kind of things where you can really take it to the next level, man, give me a ring. I'd love to do it. You can reach me by my email, which is sean@seanhumphreys.com. I'm going to give you my direct line as well. It's 972-793-7255. Hey, also, we've got these college training camps they're doing in Palm Beach, Florida. They're 2-day training camps. Man, if you wanted to get a kickstart into learning this stuff, this is the place where you need to be. It's a 2-day camp. The weather's fantastic. You can see this stuff on my website. If you got any questions on it, give me a shout. Hey, I want to thank you again for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed these as much as I do. And I can't say that enough because I keep doing it and I love doing them every week for you. Shoot me questions. Let me know the response. What do you think about it? Hit me on the Facebook, hit me on the YouTube, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great week. Bye.